Have you ever seen a fish that looks like a piece of seaweed? How about a chameleon that spits at its prey? And did you know there's a beetle that can raise its dead? Well, join me today on a journey into the wild world of animals to find out about the weirdest adaptations on the planet. From fishy flowers to prehistoric parasites, there are some strange goings-on in the natural world. Hi, I'm your host, and this is the weird and wonderful world of animal adaptations. Without adaptations, animals would not be able to survive in their environments. In other words, an adaptation is a trait or behavior that helps an animal survive. For example, a polar bear's thick fur coat helps it survive in cold climates. A giraffe's long neck allows it to reach high leaves that other animals cannot eat, and a chameleon's color-changing abilities help it to blend in with its surroundings. Some adaptations are more obvious than others, but all animals have them, and they're often the reason why animals look, act, and live the way they do. But just how weird and wonderful are these adaptations? Let's start with the blobfish, a deep sea-dwelling fish that lives around Australia and New Zealand. It's found at depths between 2,000 and 4,000 feet where the pressure is immense. Its gelatinous, almost transparent body is full of water and essentially no bones. These traits reduce the pressure on the fish's body so it doesn't get crushed. The blobfish has also evolved to be very slow-moving. This reduces the amount of oxygen it needs. Since water is much denser than air, it means that less oxygen is available to breathe underwater. So being slow helps the blobfish conserve its energy and therefore the little oxygen it uses. But unfortunately, when the blobfish is brought up to the surface, its body can't cope with the change in pressure. This makes them very vulnerable to injury. Sadly, they're often caught as bycatch in deep sea fishing nets, and because of their fragility, they don't survive for long outside their deep-sea habitat. The blobfish isn't the only animal to evolve an almost transparent body. Take the glass frog, which is found across the United States and parts of Central America. Like the blobfish, its see-through undersides allow predators to see right through them. This helps them to blend in with their watery surroundings, making them almost invisible. However, unlike the blobfish, the glass frog can live both on land and in water. And what's even stranger is that the young of some glass frog species are born with fully developed lungs that allow them to breathe air. But then as they mature, their bodies become more streamlined, their tails grow longer, and their legs shrink. These changes allow them to become better swimmers. Amazingly, as adults, they lose their lungs and instead rely on absorbing oxygen through their skin. This makes them completely dependent on water, yet they still retain the ability to breathe air, which comes in handy when they need to escape predators. Talk about a frog that's gone with the flow. Now let's take a closer look at a chameleon that spits at its prey. Chameleons are famous for their color-changing abilities, which helps them to camouflage themselves. They're also famous for their independently moving eyes, which can swivel almost 360 degrees. This gives them excellent binocular vision, meaning they can judge the distance to objects really well. But chameleons can also move their tongues just as fast as their eyes. When they spot food, they flick out their long, sticky tongues in a fraction of a second to catch their unsuspecting prey. Some chameleons even shoot their tongues at their dinner, wrapping it in a sticky glob of saliva before swallowing it down whole. You might think this is gross, but it's actually a really effective hunting strategy, allowing them to catch slippery prey such as insects. But the coolest thing about a chameleon's tongue is that it's attached to a bone in their upper jaw. This means that it's constantly pulled back into its mouth, ready to strike at a moment's notice. Not all animals have to wait for their food to come to them, though. The Peregrine falcon is one of the fastest animals in the world, capable of reaching speeds of over 240 miles per hour during its hunting dives. This makes it around 8 times faster than a speeding car. To withstand these incredible forces, every part of its body, from its beak to its claws, has evolved to be lighter and stronger. Even its retina has adapted to be extra tough. But what makes this bird of prey truly unique is its incredible eyesight. Peregrine falcons have 4 types of color receptors in their eyes, enabling them to see ultraviolet light. Most birds only have 3 types of receptors, giving them trichromatic vision, the same as humans. But peregrine falcons have tetrachromatic vision, which allows them to see a wider range of colors than any other bird, mammal, reptile, or amphibian. With these keen eyesight and incredible speed, the peregrine falcon is a formidable hunter, feeding mainly on other birds. Our next animal also has impressive hunting skills, but its tactics couldn't be more different. Instead of chasing its prey, the anglerfish waits for it to come to it. Anglerfish can be found in oceans around the world, from the Arctic to the Antarctic. There are more than 260 species, each with a unique set of adaptations. Most are small, growing to around 12 inches in length. However, some species can grow to over 6 feet long and weigh in at more than 100 pounds. All anglerfish have a special appendage on the end of their head that dangles in front of their mouths like a fishing rod. This is tipped with a glowing light that acts like bait, attracting unsuspecting prey. Some anglerfish even lure their dinner by mimicking the movement of a small fish or a shrimp. Once the unsuspecting prey gets too close, the anglerfish strikes with its large, sharp teeth. And surprisingly, all anglerfish have teeth on both their upper and lower jaws. Teeth are more commonly found on the lower jaw in fish. But even after all this, the anglerfish has another trick up its dorsal fin. It can swallow prey larger than its head, expanding its stomach to several times its normal size. While we're talking about fish, let's take a look at one that looks like a flower. The blobfish may be ugly, but the ornate ghostfish is downright beautiful. Also known as the mermaid's purse, this fish is named for the egg case it lays, which looks remarkably like a pink seashell. When you open it up, you can see 2 adorable little fish wriggling inside. These fish are found in the coastal waters of the Pacific Ocean, from Japan to California, and they've evolved to look exactly like a flowering plant. This is called mimicry, and it helps the fish to avoid predators. Although they are quite small, growing to around 5 inches in length, many animals would happily eat them if they weren't camouflaged. The ornate ghost fish has also evolved to be bioluminescent, which means it can produce its own light. This allows it to attract mates and also confuse any predators trying to eat it. What's really amazing about this fish is that it's a type of shark. Sharks are typically gray and predatory, but the ornate ghost fish has overcome its instincts to hunt and instead has become one of the ocean's most unusual-looking animals. We couldn't make a video about weird adaptations without mentioning the tardigrade, aka the water bear or moss piglet. These microscopic animals can be found all over the world, living in moss, soil, and even hot springs. Tardigrades are nicknamed water bears because of their plump bodies and bear-like movements as they scuttle along. Amazingly, these tiny creatures are 8 times more resistant to radiation than humans, thanks to their ability to enter a state called cryptobiosis. This allows them to slow their metabolism down to extremely low levels, entering a kind of suspended animation. In this state, they can survive in space, in the vacuum of space, as well as extremely high temperatures. Tardigrades can also survive being dried out for decades, only to rehydrate and carry on as if nothing had happened. No wonder they're sometimes known as indestructible animals. Lastly, let's look at a beetle that can raise the dead. No, not literally, but in a manner of speaking. Imagine you're an insect living in the desert. Finding water must be one of your main priorities. After all, most insects can only survive for a few days without it. And the last thing you want is to run out of water while you're laying your eggs. If you were a female sand cricket, you wouldn't have to worry. Unlike most insects, she can lay her eggs in dry sand, and her children will be able to survive without water for weeks. But how do these eggs manage to survive in such harsh conditions? Well, amazingly, the female sand cricket coats her eggs in a waxy substance. This prevents them from drying out. But what happens when the eggs hatch? Normally, when an animal loses water, it dies. But the baby sand crickets have adapted to survive in a dehydrated state. They remain in this state until they find water. But once they do, they quickly rehydrate and start looking for food. From the tiniest tardigrade to the huge peregrine falcon, all animals have evolved unique adaptations to help them survive. Now it's time for you to make your voice heard. Comment below and tell us which animal was the most weird and wonderful. And if you'd like to learn more about strange animal adaptations, check out this video next. Thanks for watching. See you next time.